Welcome to Fat Cat Productions of News with a View. This is March 5th. This is episode 45. Of course, we're going to be discussing tonight President Trump's speech to Congress. That was some speech, folks. I'm your host, John A. Costa. And let's begin. This will probably be 35, 40 minutes. Depends on how winded I get. All right, so Trump's been in office approximately 43 days. And honestly, and this is an opinion piece. So but using the facts from his speech and the facts from the Democratic response. So it's not the news, in essence, but I am going to critique the speech. So 43 days in office, and I feel that he has done more in his 43 days than Biden accomplished in 4 years. The pomp and ceremony of everyone walking in and everyone almost being announced, and I mean, yeah, that's typical. Not too much there. Once the speech started, the disgraceful antics of Representative Al Green, who I am so hopeful that the not weaponization of the FBI, but facts that they do have, proof of anything that he has done wrong that they knew about and was hidden by the prior FBI, be brought to light with this guy. It was great watching him being really forcibly removed from the Congress during the speech by order of Speaker Johnson for his disrespectful antics. The Democrats dressing in costume and holding signs. I mean, honestly, people were laughing at them. Do you think holding up those little signs and dressing in pink and black and all that, I mean, really, honestly, you Democrats really have to get back into the mainstream of American thinking. Instead of saying, we're smarter than you. Because, as Trump said, how'd that work out for you? Right? So, we like it. The Democrats, of course, refused to stand, held signs, and acted like children during the speech. Nancy Pelosi looked like she was in physical pain. She did not look good at all. Pelosi, I wish her well, but I don't think Nancy Pelosi is going to be around much longer. She looked terrible. Elizabeth Warren looked like Elizabeth Warren. Actually, she looks pretty good, for 84 years old, and she could keep up her end of a conversation. And I don't like her. I don't like her politics. But as far as the human, she holds her own pretty well. Give her that much credit. The president asked that for tonight only, Democrats join us in making America great again. That was like showing the cross to vampires. I mean, the look on their faces were, said it all. And their demeanor. And, we've seen it. We've seen this before. And Trump plays this as a concert. So it's interesting to watch. And it's interesting to look at the expressions of the people. The Democrats showed no signs of ending their failed playbook of shouting and yelling, cursing, when confronted with logic and facts. And the cursing didn't happen there that we heard of, but certainly afterwards in some of the representatives and senators' personal blogs. President Trump spoke forcefully on border security and the fact that he used the military to enhance Border Patrol and their actions. And now we have seen the lowest numbers of crossing. This also is slowing down, of course, everything else, fentanyl, marijuana, all the illegal drugs. So in 43 days, Trump has done what Biden just refused to do with the border. It was heartening to hear Trump say Biden was the worst president in our history, who oversaw billions being sent out to nations we did not even know of for projects that made no sense and people we can't identify. Yeah, that happened on his watch. Remember all the time speaking about on Bush's watch, on Trump's watch. Remember those words? Well, now they're coming back to bite you. The Democrats are totally lost and out of touch. Now, even the Democrats have said at their Democratic retreat that they're out of touch. And that they're told now to be patriotic. Like, you have to be told to be patriotic, right? Senators and congressmen, legislators have to be told to be patriotic. So we're going to tell the voters we're patriotic so we could win the voters back. Just say it. You don't have to be it. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Democrats are going to be called out. And called out, I mean, in the most painful ways that could be imagined. It's coming. So, President Trump then went on to say, it frees on all legislation, and every new legislation must remove 10 old ones. So, if you want to make banking legislations, you're going to have to take 10 banking legislations, prior ones. And there's plenty of them that have to go. Plenty of them that should stay in. But there is a lot in there that should go. And that goes for every agency who's trying to seek legislation. We got out of the World Health Organization the United Nations rights. And he killed the EV mandate. Now, getting out of WHO was great. The United States, human rights. All right, that wasn't a biggie, but it was also ridiculous that we have to go back to the times of pilgrims. Let's stop it. We're not doing that. But the EV mandate, absolutely ridiculous. You didn't need a mandate. And Biden, well, who knows if it was Biden? I still say we'll find out who was really running the country. We'll find out. But Biden's mandate, instead of build a better mousetrap, and people will come flocking. But here they said, no, you can't buy those mousetraps anymore. This is the only mousetrap you can buy, and we're not saying it's the best or it's good, but we're telling you have to buy it. We're taking all the other ones off the market. You think that's democracy? You think that's free enterprise? You think that's capitalism? And all you Democrats sat there going, yeah, hey, I'm going to have to spend $45,000 on a car. Yeah, because I can't buy the $22,000 Toyota anymore. Maybe I have to buy a Volt for $21,000 and hope it lasts 3 years, right? That was a great idea. And then at the same time, Biden opens up the China market for batteries, EV batteries. Thank you, President Trump. If that's all you have done in 43 days, I thank you. But it goes on further. President Trump ordered all federal workers back to work. Failure to comply means you abandon your job and you're gone. Now, with his firing, and I said that was going to cause a legal response, because there is contract language, and yes, the president can, in the executive branch, just about do what he would like in there. But also in the executive branch, those employees that were nominated for their positions and then confirmed by the Senate, to fire them, there's protective language that they have. And that's a good thing for exactly what's going on. These people might have been doing a decent job, and I'm not saying they are or they weren't or they should or they could, but by not having them be under a 24-hour political axe that could fall at any time allows them some broader stability in their agencies. So it's important that they can't be influenced by a new political party, either way, Democrats or Republicans or whatever, that they can't be unduly influenced. And they're given 5 years or 10-year appointments. So I really feel that that type of rules for some of these agencies are good, and they do serve a purpose, and for those you must follow the rules in removing them. So I knew Trump was going to have a problem when he just, blanket ordered that. Now, for the everyday worker, yeah. Yep. Trump can go, the head of the agency, out. You got to fire these people. You could stay. And we'll go through the list and I'll tell you what 5 people can stay. Trump can do that. Trump can make people political appointees and fill those positions with political appointees. Then, when Trump gives the director of those agencies the go order on what to do, and they go, no, we're not going to do that. We're not doing that, Mr. President. Then that's malfeasance or insubordination. I notify Congress. Congress can yipe and yell and boom, boom. But in 30 days, that guy's gone. Or you could just fire him on the spot for insubordination. Failure to do your job is being inefficient. So there was ways, but he didn't want to do that. He wanted a strike and strike fast and strike hard. Excuse me. And I said that will be a problem because we have rules and regulations. Those are the guardrails. Guardrails. And you could go down the middle, or you can go all the way to the one side or all the way to the other side. But if you think you can crash through those guardrails, no. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So, going on, he talked about how agencies were weaponized against people, him being particularly one of them, and how he has put a stop to that. Yep. But I also don't want to see it weaponized the other way. You could go so far right that you're now left. Just saying. That has to be really watched. English as our primary language. Duh. Restoring Mount McKinley's name. Yeah. DEI being removed from the government and private sector. Now, I don't know. Should the government be telling the private sector, you can hire who you want. If you want to hire someone with green hair and, a man wearing a dress, and you want him to go out and hawk your product, you can do that. I don't see where that should be a problem. If you want to hire gay people, not only gay people, no, you can't do that. But if you want to hire gay people, you want to hire the unskilled and pay them as a skilled person, well, that's your right. And if you want to take that skilled person, that unskilled person, and have them build airplanes, then you have to be prepared for the consequences of that. And the consequences are, wings falling off, nuts not being installed. And, that is a failure of the work line and the failure of the final end stage safety inspection. But if you want to hire them like that, have at it. Boeing, if we got to ground every one of your jets, well, that's what will happen. So you tell me how DEI is working for you. All right? Of Of course, the end of woke. We don't have to be conscious of woke. We don't have to be woke. Let's get back to using common sense. And if you want to be in a smoke shop where you see every type of bong being sold, and you want to have a guy in there running it that looks like a 1960 hippie, be my guest. That might attract clientele other than a man or woman dressed up as a police officer or dressed up in a suit and tie or a mink coat. So, common sense. We can have common sense. The big one for me, end of critical race theory being taught in schools. Yep. Because all you really need to teach them is we don't judge people by their color or the way they speak or where they came from or their religion or their handicap. That we treat each other with respect. And we all have the same rights. There you go. There you go. Done. Done. Now, if you want to teach history and you want to say, yes, and, the forefathers in the Bill of Rights, they argued back and forth about slavery, but slavery was normal then. But even back during the Bill of Rights, the forefathers knew it was wrong and tried to address it, but couldn't. The country couldn't be built. And yes, was it built on the back of slaves? No, it was built with the back of slaves. And in all honesty, and it's not to be cruel or take away from the fact that, of course, slavery is horrible. It's, we've had it in our own culture. It wasn't called slavery. It was called serfism. So all the people all over have been in some sort of slavery. The slavery that happened with the people of Africa was particularly heinous because they were forcibly removed, taken away, and lost all their identity. So, but in the history, you can also be taught that 100 and some years later, 200, maybe 100 and something years later, America did wake up to the fact that this is wrong and, this should not be going on. And it ended. We fought a civil war down in the South here. It's called the War of Northern Aggression because the South wanted to vote on whether slavery was acceptable or not. And those states that didn't want it could vote no slavery. But let the states decide. The problem was that the federal government knew that there'd be certain states that wouldn't do it. Those states were in conflict, and as such, said, adios, we're out of here, and thus started the Civil War. It wasn't really about slavery in particular. That was the layer, but it was actually about state rights and how far the federal government could drill down into those state rights. So, and it's still an issue today. All right, let's go on. Other one that I liked, only two sexes, male or female. No males are allowed to participate in women's sports. You see all these accomplishments made by women in sports. Women versus women. Shattered. Because you're not having a woman against a woman. Now you're having a man who says he feels like a woman or identifies as a woman. So they were allowed to partake. Now, I identify as the controller of the currency, and as such I should have full access and all the rights thereof, right? I identify as a pilot, so I should get in the front of an airplane and see if I could fly it. And I know those are crazy examples, but that's how crazy it is when you say a man identifying as a female, or a female going, I can do what that fireman does. I guarantee you could not at that same age. At 21, I guarantee 99.9 of the women could not carry a 130-pound person down flights of stairs. You're just not built for it. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. And if you could show me a woman that can do it, then absolutely. Absolutely. But there should not be two standards. So, again, President Trump, thank you. And going down, he says, I'm bringing back common sense logic. Common sense logic. Can you ask for anything more? Now, I grant you, and I harp this on almost every one of my episodes, my common sense might not be your common sense. Your common sense might not be my common sense. I get it, but we can all agree of following laws. Right? We don't get to pick and choose what laws we follow. Trump is reviving the economy, and the economy was a fake economy. The Biden administration lied on so many of their numbers. And when I say lied, they misrepresented what numbers really mean. And this has been proven. Remember in February of last year? This is the best economy ever. Right? Right? We heard all that. The Democrat Party, as it stands of today, is the party of liars. Liars. You're liars. All right. Democratic policies caused massive inflation. I would say that's 90% correct. There's 10% of factors in there that any government can't control. You know, we certainly could control fuel prices. We certainly could have controlled that. Agriculture, we could have controlled that. Now, bird flu? No. No. Probably could have used the USDA a little bit better in once you see it and you start protecting that area, quarantine it so that other areas don't get it. But the problem is with the birds is, birds fly. And the wild birds bring in bird flu. And for some birds getting it, they just get sick or whatever. But chickens, they die. And so you got to get rid of them all. You got to cull them, as it's called. Dispose of them. They got to be disposed of. You can't do anything. You can't make, cat food out of them. They got to be disposed of. And then it takes anywhere from 4 to 6 months from a chick to an egg layer. But we've done a really poor job of fixing the problem. But that's also because we went from regional areas of egg laying. Every area back in the day had local. Long Island you could get Long Island eggs, you could get New Jersey eggs. And now you're having eggs laid in upstate New York being sent to 23 states. So now the little grower gets out of the egg laying business because he can't compete with that. And you have just 15 or 20 major egg producers, and when they get hit hard. So that was not really a Democrat fault. How they handled it and responded, maybe, but don't know what I don't know. But it did cause problems, and it did cause inflation because, you buy cake mix, it has eggs already in it. That cost went up. Bread went up. Everything, pasta, anything that contained an egg. Then you added on the fuel cost of delivery, of just getting the product there, making it, then getting the product out, and then shipping it to individual stores. Every person started adding their costs onto that. And before you knew it, you had a TV dinner that used to cost, you get 5 for $5. And I'm not saying they were the best, but you got corn and you got mashed potatoes and you got something that resembled meat. And now those same ones are 5 for $10 or 5 for $11. And they're smaller. Shrinkflation. All right. Trump got up there and said, in his 43 days, we will drill, baby, drill. And he rescinded regulations and opened up areas for drilling. Because for a while, we were energy independent. And you have people go, we still are. No. We were taking our oil and selling it overseas and caring for other people other than ours, and that inflated it and their businesses. What do you think was going to happen? So when you have, we produce the most amount of oil, well, yeah. Normally when you have a glut of oil and gasoline, the price drops. So then he went on about Social Security and fraud and went through a litany of things that Doge and he thanked Elon Musk, has already discovered. You know, one person being over 360 years old. People being 140 years old. Being over 200 years old. And possibly receiving benefits. Who are those benefits going to? They said, we're looking, and I go, it should be pretty easy because everything's electronic. You should be able to pull up something and go, all right, that went to the bank of the left bank over there. Whose account did that go to? And how was it withdrawn? How was it handled? Who opened the account? Okay, show us how the account was opened. Show us the ID. No one there said we have people that are 120 years old, 130 years old. I had to run aging reports when I ran the credit union. Not just on accounts that were aging, but the age of our membership. So all the banks do it because you use that for data, you know. Hey, I got these people are like 48 years old. How many of those people are getting loans for? So you put that data in, pull out a report and go, hey, you know, most of the people taking loans here are between 38 and 45. And then you break it down even further. What are they taking them for? Car loans, personal loans, school. They're paying off a debt, you know. And then you could create a campaign to go, well, if that's happening to the 32-year-olds, maybe we need to be looking at the 49-year-olds and see what they're doing. So they all do it. They all do it. So he's going after Social Security fraud because that thing is, you know, $8 or $9 trillion a year going out the door. And I'm not saying it's all fraud. I'm not saying that. But one fraud is one fraud too many. Then he touched upon gold card immigration. Instead of a green card, a gold card. And in that, you are given a special Social Security number. You pay your taxes. And with that is a work permit attached to that. You're documented. You might not be a citizen, but we know you're here. We know where you're working. We know how much you're making. You think that's a bad thing, folks? Any of you Republicans think that's a bad thing? Any of you Democrats think that that's a bad thing? To pay as you go? Or, in this instance, really, it's pay to play. But do you think that's a bad thing? Because I'd love to hear from you. Bob, New York. Tax cuts for the American family. No tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security payments. That's on his agenda. And whether or not he can get that, I don't know. I don't know. But the one that I liked was the deduction on car loans, the interest rate. For cars that are made in America, that you could deduct that. I thought that was a great incentive. And we used to sell more cars at our credit union and car sale week, and we'd hook up with a dealer and we'd have a special thing, and you come right there and you fill out the paperwork and you're a member. Then it started getting loosey-goosey with that because you were allowed to take in members. But see, we were under a field of membership, an FOM, where we were only allowed to go after people in the broadcasting field. But that took in the writers, that took up anyone in the building of where we were. But our credit union at the time didn't feel comfortable with it because we didn't control. See, we were a union broadcast. We started off as a local 1212 Broadcast Engineers Federal Credit Union. And we knew what every union person was making. No matter what shop they worked at, they had a contract, and we knew exactly what they were working. We knew the minimum amount that they could get paid. So when we would do our debt to income ratio, we knew exactly what their base pay was. And if they wanted to include overtime, they had to present that to us. And we'd look at it and we'd go, well, the average, 2 hours per week or 5 hours per week or whatever, and we could add that in and comfortably show an examiner that we did our due diligence and under the safety and soundness of loan run. But that goes neither here nor there. But being able to do a car loan would certainly entice me to go out and buy a car. Then Trump went on to say, April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs. And he joked about not doing on April Fool's Day and that he was just, he's a very superstitious person. So April 2nd, reciprocal tariff laws. Meaning if they're charging us 25%, we're going to charge them 25%. And if they're not going to charge us a tariff for a particular product that we're getting over there, well, they can do the same thing over here. We'll find some common ground. Now, with reference to the Mexico and Canada tariff that is back on the table, again, this will be a very short-lived tariff. And I'm not 100% totally thrilled with how Trump is doing this, but obviously when he did it starting off and he goes, let's see how this is working, is he going for another bite of the apple? And if that's the case, you got to be careful with that, because you just might bite off more than you can chew. But if he feels that, they could be doing more and they're not, or they're slacking off, all right. Then he announced under his economic revision and revival, Apple Corporation, Oracle, and Taiwan Semiconductors have pledged in total $1.1 trillion in new factories and coming here and doing the work here in the United States. Anyone have a problem with that? I don't have a problem with that. And also, under current EPA rules, those companies are going to have to adhere to certain standards. Now, I know, he's throwing away that. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's just not making them ridiculous and unable to be sustained or implemented where the companies go, it just doesn't pay to do work here. I mean, I would love to have work here, but I can't do that. I can't build a factory like that and make all those changes and do that and still be able to produce a product I could sell elsewhere. So that's going to be coming down the line. I'm sure the Democrats are going to jump all over that. But some of this is AI, and it's not truly brick and mortar. It's buildings. And guess what we have a lot of now? We're going to have a lot of empty federal buildings that we own. And guess what we're going to be getting on those buildings? Rent. So Trump went on to say illegals are being rounded up. Now, of course, we know that there are many progressives out there that are trying to halt this, that are undermining our police force, undermining ICE, and who are actually aiding and abetting criminals. We've had some news organizations go out there and do that. Those organizations that have been found or accused of this and then found guilty, I say that guilt, let them, they have a right to defend themselves. But if they have a federal license, like a radio or television station, not anymore. Not anymore. You're forced to sell it. If you're a newspaper or a publication, the articles that you went in there and helped people do, or news, you'll be fined by the word. How about that? Criminal gangs now being classified as foreign terrorist groups. Yeah, that should have been done a long time ago. And this is where I want Mario Cuomo, who's running for mayor of New York City. We must bring up the fact that he refused to allow the Suffolk County Police Department to arrest MS-13 gang members. And that's a fact, folks. Not Mario Cuomo. I'm sorry. Not Mario. He sucked too. But the whole Cuomo clan tainted. So Andrew Cuomo is the one who went and said, can't, hands off these people. Don't go after them. Stay out of their territory. Look the other way. That has to be brought up every time this effer speaks in New York City. So I could understand the Democrats not applauding or standing ovation for anything Trump says. I get that. I'm okay with that. But when they didn't applaud or didn't at least recognize a 13-year-old cancer survivor child whose dream, is to become a policeman, and policemen had given him honorary badges, and he was all very proud of that, and that President Trump and the Secret Service gave him an honorary Secret Service card. And not one Democrat clapped. Well, I wouldn't say not. There could have been a few. But none of them stood that we panned over and saw. So when you see that they don't even do that, that they don't even applaud criminals being captured, and our laws now being enforced, the Democrats are lost. And I don't think the brightest of lights can help you find your way back. And I don't know how you're going to rebrand yourself. And that's a topic that I'm going to be talking about on the Democratic response. And it's just a disgusting moment on a personal level, on a moral level, not a political. This was not political. This child that was there was non-political. And yes, the Trump people heard of this kid and boom, boom, and brought him here, and his dad was with him, and his dad was proud of him, and, you know, was standing behind him with his, you know, honoring the police department. And what a wonderful moment of a non-political situation. And the Democrats showed they don't care. Anything to win. I'm going to get back to that. The Panama Canal. Trump wants it back because the Panama gave it to China to control. And that was not part of the deal. It had to stay under Panamanian control. So, Panama is going to say, well, no, we're telling them what to do, but, you know, and no. China's grip is now being really shown in South America. Their military is training, there's secret police. China is very well entrenched in South America and in Central America. And it is something that we knew about, just like Hezbollah is all over South America. Because they're able to swing so much money over into there. Under the table. I mean, you see the billions that have been given to these organizations, and the people live hand to mouth. Where did that money go? We know where it went. Trump knows where it is, and we're going to expose that too. I got a kick when he asked the people of Greenland that they should be able to vote to join the United States. I don't know if the people of, you know, anywhere. I think that California would vote to become a part of China. You know, I mean, but you know, Trump is still with Greenland. He wants that long-term security, and Greenland was always a military point for us, just so you know. And then he went on to talk about the Ukraine and Russia and how he wants the fighting to end, and how even though he had a horrible meeting with Zelensky sent him a beautiful letter agreeing to the mineral rights deal, and that President Trump, under his leadership, should lead the negotiations. Now, the big question was by the Ukraine was strategic guarantees. And this bothered Zelensky because this meant America businesses coming over there and getting into the minerals. And if you remember all the shady deals that came out of the Ukraine under Biden, Trump kept saying, hey, if we send and build American companies over there and Russia tries anything, what do you think's going to happen? We're going to have an interest over there. Now you're screwing around with my dollars and stuff? That's not going to happen. So that is your strategic guarantee. And he was probably meeting with Russia going, yeah, you know what? You got stuff that we want that you can't even get to yet. But our mining technologies and our equipment, You buy it from us. We come over there. We show you how to use it. It's yours. You own it. And you sell us the product. And we create a market. And you make money. We make money. The Ukraine is happy. Russia is happy. And with that, who wants to invade anyone at that point? They don't have to. The Ukraine isn't going to bother you, and you play nice with your border countries, because Biden tricked you into reacting, and we got Sweden and Finland in the NATO. And Trump probably has said, hey, I didn't want that. That's more money that I got to shove that way. Now it's costing me even more. Whereas before, you knew not to do anything over in Finland. Sail a couple of your boats over there. Once in a while, run in a submarine, and they chase you out, and like we all do. But now you got to worry about Sweden and Finland and NATO, where you didn't have to do that before. You didn't have to spend the money to do all that. And now you do. And do you see the problem with that? Do you have an idea of how Biden screwed you? And in turn screwed the Ukraine and screwed Europe? Because you could have been sending oil and natural gas to Europe, to India, to China, and all that got squashed for 4 freaking years because of Biden. And I'm here to fix that. And we can make a deal. And a deal that can last. And a deal that can make everyone happy. But it can never bring back the, hundreds of thousands of people that have been lost. But we can stop it. So let's hope that President Trump can do that. And I think he can. Now, the Democratic response from the new senator from Michigan, and I'm sorry, I did not write her name down. And she gave a very, very nice speech, and her credentials were fine. I thank her for her public service, but the message she was conveying was how the Democrats are patriotic. And they do have family values. And they've known they've made some errors in how they went about doing things, but they're going to correct them. And that we need a strong Democrat to run against a strong Republican to counter that. And what is she trying to counter? What are the Democrats trying to counter? Border security? Economics? Housing? Education? What are they trying to counter with that? Now, you could say that Democrats are, want a healthcare program for everyone. I'll agree that could be a Democratic, that can be a goal of the Democrats, and I'm fine with that. I would say that the Democrats who want to tax big companies, well, I don't think that has worked very well for you guys. I don't see how you could be about law and order when you allowed just the opposite to have happened. And I don't know how, unless you get on President Trump's bandwagon, that you can convince American voters otherwise. I just don't see how you can do it. You can get on the Trump bandwagon and go, listen, we're all for the government running more efficiently and maybe even streamlined. But what the Democrats should point out is that instead of cutting the arm off because of a bad finger, you just cut the bad finger off. You don't have to cut the whole arm off. Let's work together to try to figure this out. The only problem is that the minute you get the Democrats in there, they slow the process down to nothing. Yet the clock is still ticking, 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 ticking. And how do you get it done? You don't. And they know that. So Democrats, you need to come up with a new playbook. And the playbook can't be, you're stupid. We're so smart. We know everything. Listen to us. You're stupid. You're ignorant. You live in trailers. Because that's what we've all heard from you people. Uneducated. Yeah? We've heard that. We heard it so good that you didn't take one blue state that you should have taken. So you better take that playbook that you have, that you're still being told to go to by the same people that led you down that road. Your Schumers, your Pelosi's, your Warrens, your Greens. It is time for you to stop and rebrand yourself and go, no, we're going to work with the president so that I can have his ear and tell him, hey, you want to go this way. How about we go this way? We accomplish the same things, but we're not destroying it. We're remodeling it. Instead of destroying it, can we remodel instead? It's cheaper and it will look just as good. And can we at least have you look at it? And then if it goes sideways for you guys, you can go, hey, listen, we presented these plans. This is how we would have done it. And look, it went all sideways. It's not working. And you could even be honest and say, we don't know if this plan would have worked to a successful end. But we knew that their plan was, we knew what was going to happen. At least this plan gave us some outs and we could carve things and we could move a door here and add a window there. But they don't. You don't do that because you guys are all under a time constraint. 2 years, 4 years, 6 years. And now Trump is going full speed because he knows this. You taught him well, Democrats. You turned Trump into a political business animal. And you only have yourself to blame. You guys are to blame for Trump. You got Trump elected. All right. I said I was going to try to make this quick. I don't know. I don't have my little time thing going. I really should. I really should put time code in here so I can see. Even though I got my telephone over here, I don't always turn it on when I start. And yeah. As I keep saying in these podcasts, I'm not a very smart man. But I'm learning. See, you could be ignorant. Doesn't make you stupid. Just don't know it yet. That's all. All right. With that, this is going to go up later on today. I want you to all say a prayer for people that need it. Anyone, just, hey, God, you're hearing a lot of suffering out there. Please show these people the path. Prayer helps. Donations help. Give to a registered charity. That charity will not come to you. You must go to that charity. Do not become a victim helping a victim. I keep saying that. There's a lot of fraud out there. That's why I like going to the church, seeing what they're doing. Well, if you don't, through a religious organization of your choice, then go to Salvation Army, America Red Cross. There's so many out there that can help and should help. Except UNICEF. Don't give to UNICEF. It all goes to terrorism. So stay away from those organizations. All right. With that, I'm going to just go fade the